I wanted to make this video for all you day one, week one, month one watercolor beginners who are maybe feeling a little bit bewildered here on YouTube because there are a lot of shenanigans going on. If so, this video is for you. So there's a lot of what I call art supply righteousness. I really don't know how else to put it, or policing that goes on here. And that is something to really be aware of as a newbie. So as an absolute beginner, you'll find advice about art supplies very confusing. And I've been here for a while, making videos here for a while, and I find it confusing as well. It's like, no matter what I like, someone has an opinion on that. And a lot of people say they like the same things. Like for instance, if we're talking about like a Cotman brush that I really like, almost without fail, someone else will pipe in if it's a popular video and say that there's a different brush that is better than that one. It's like, can you let somebody live? If I like a certain student grade paint, someone else will pipe in, yeah, but I like Daniel Smith better. And I get it. It's because people are passionate, but there are so many choices in watercolor that it can feel very oppressive as a beginner. Now you start to doubt yourself, like, well, should I be recommending this at all? Is it weird to even enjoy this? Should I be buying that other thing instead? And the answer is no, you shouldn't be doing any of those things. When you make your first choices as a watercolor beginner, be firm in them. Like try and enjoy them, and try not to get swept away by other people's opinions, because that's what happens. Everyone has hot takes on art supplies, but once you've settled your mind on like a set and some paper, just try and lean into those. And the constraint is your friend at the beginning. And I think that when we get a little bit more advanced in our journey of learning about watercolor, we lose sight of that how having very little at the beginning is, I think, actually a really good place to start, a really good place to be. And I think we confuse beginners by giving them like mixed messages about what's good and what's not good. I have made some videos and I practice different types of art, and you don't see this level of, I don't know what to call it, policing or like alternative opinions that were unsolicited given for other types of art forms. Like when I work in oil, actually, the only thing I ever got from that community was like very positive things from people that work in oil. They're just not so fixated on the supplies for whatever reason. They're like, oh, great. They might say something about technique, like try and be helpful, but they check in. Like there's a level of kindness, I think, in some other art communities that does not really exist on the same level. Watercolor, YouTube feels more competitive somehow. Like even among people who don't make videos, everybody has these strong opinions. And it feels divisive, like more divisive than it should be for something that many of us are enjoying as a hobby, to be honest. I just made a video about pigment codes and, how I'm getting asked to include those the few times that I do make swatching videos, which is wild to me because I don't care about them. I don't care about them at all. I can understand how other people do. You have to block that out. As an absolute beginner, I think pigment codes are not helpful, not useful, not needed for day one, week one, month one. So another medium that I like working in is fiber art. So I am an embroiderer as well. And in the embroidery community, embroidery YouTube would never dream of telling you that whatever thread you're using or whatever substrate fabric you're using is not the best one and they found a better one. It just doesn't happen there as much. Maybe that's because there's so much less to choose from. So that is one of the tyrannies of watercolor, in fact. The tyranny is that there is an abundance of choice, an oppressive amount of choice with new things coming out all the time. I also want to make clear that not everybody is like this idea of being a know-it-all. Yes, it's on watercolor, but there are so many amazing people here too. So I don't want to take away from just how generous some people are in sharing their knowledge and educating us. Like for instance, I have kind of like a semi-viral video about using Canson XL watercolor paper. I don't have any here to show you. If you're an absolute beginner, you may not know what I'm talking about. It is similar to this kind of watercolor paper, which is a cellulose base, which is not the best quality. So I have a video talking about how somebody kind of got into it with me about using this on a watercolor painting that I sold to basically like an audience member who was also a friend, and they thought that it's inferior paper and I should have disclosed that. I'm not going to talk, I mentioned this here and there just because it's kind of foundational to a lot of the stuff that I talk about here. I won't go on about that video, but you can find it elsewhere. But anyway, the point I was making about that is Christy Rice, of all people, came to my channel and left me this really lovely comment there. And she subscribed, and she has like 100,000 subscribers. And she also made this like little Instagram story mentioning me and encouraging others to lift me up. I've never had that happen before, so that is new. So, you take the good with the bad, and there are so many generous, wonderful people out there. Other YouTubers who I like Helen Cryer, for example, left a comment on that video as well. So, and I was really touched for people to reach out to me about that. But for great comments like that, well, you know how YouTube Freakonomics work. For comments like that, you get so many other ones that are just basically, very know-it-all-y. So you have to watch out for that as an absolute beginner. Keep your head clear. Try not to get swayed by that. And I know many of you are not making videos, like that is not your intention at all. You're just enjoying them. But I know we start to read the comments. And even if you don't make YouTube videos, sometimes negative comments kind of get in your head too. So maybe shield yourself from that when you're beginning, because they start to be very confusing. They start to get you away from the basics. The basics of watercolor are not the supplies. It's not the brushes. It's not all the different cool watercolor palettes you could collect, all the amazing high quality paper out there. It is about just honestly putting brush to paper and getting started. And it's supposed to be enjoyable, and there will be frustration, and you have to work through that frustration as day one, month one beginner. And I'll tell you what is not helpful is just feeling more confused when you come onto YouTube. So, it's the whole grain of salt thing. Take the things you hear, take the things you see with a grain of salt. So, on this idea of the know-it-alliness of the community, of the fixation on art supplies, we probably should talk a little bit about art hauls. And just a little piece of advice I want to impart about those. I made a video about that as well, how some of them are there's huge art hauls out there. And I just want to remind you absolute beginners that they're a form of entertainment, really. They are not aspirational. They're supposed to be inspirational. Like, this is fun. Let's relax and look at these things together. I don't want you to feel FOMO. Like, if you don't have all the different purples out there, you're in any way inferior, or you even need to catch up to that point. Maybe you never do. Plenty of established watercolor artists mix their own colors, and you should learn how to mix purple. This is not a bad idea. Experiment yourself, right? Put colors together. See how you get to brown, Don't feel you need to buy 5 different types of brown to make something beautiful. You don't. Okay, it is at this point in the video that I will ask you to like and consider subscribing if you are new to watercolor, or maybe you're more established and you just like hanging out. And please do leave a comment. I want to hear about your experiences in what I'm talking about, whether you're an absolute beginner and you find it very overwhelming, or whether you're an established watercolor artist. Am I on the right track? Am I giving good advice here? And what am I missing? That's what I would like to hear from you. So another issue, of course, is purism in technique, purism in watercolor technique. So I have a little bit of background knowing about this. I'm not completely self-taught in that I have taken 3 watercolor classes. And so some of the basics are, don't use white. So you're not technically supposed to use white in watercolor. You just reserve the paper for any white areas that you have, but I've never done that. I've often used white gouache on top of it, or even like a white pen if I want to like dot the eye of a bird or something like that. I think that that's okay. I don't know. You're not supposed to use black in watercolor, so you'll hear this advice and you might not understand why. And certainly my understanding of it is that it really deadens the painting. It just really is not interesting and appealing. And I could be getting both of these 2 things wrong. So if you are indeed a watercolor purist with a lot of experience, let me know down below. So a lot of the advice is if you want to use something like black, get close to black or make your own black. It just makes for a more beautiful, well-considered look rather than just using a ready-made black, and so forth. I mean, there are a lot of other techniques that you're supposed to employ in watercolor that I don't, and I would suggest that maybe as an absolute beginner, you don't need to follow them right away. You should feel like you're having fun. If you're not having fun, I don't think you're going to stick around doing watercolor very long. And, you need to give yourself time and you need to give yourself patience. And for that reason, I also don't think that this idea of using 100% cotton paper, which you do see here, that is advice often given to beginners. start with the best because you'll never really know how watercolor works if you're using cheap paper. Yes, that is true. I think maybe if you're like a month, 2 months into it and you're like, I love watercolor, then yeah, you need to treat yourself like ASAP to 100% cotton paper, just if nothing else, to see how your watercolors look. A lot of times they really come to life and they have a level of nuance, beauty, transparency, vibrancy that you just don't get on, your cheaper cellulose-based papers. 100%, like, go there. But day one, is that really the place we want people to start? Like on Arche paper, expensive, imported from France paper? Like, I think it's okay to start with the cheaper notebook and work your way up, but that is contrary to a lot of the established wisdom here. So anyway, don't be overwhelmed. There is a little bit of meanness in this community that I am not loving. I'm just going to be straight about that. Remember that your goal is to start hopefully what's going to be a lifelong skill, a lifelong practice that you can enjoy, something to immerse yourself in, get off, YouTube, get off your screen, and really just feel present. I think that is the best part of watercolor to me anyway. And it's also something that is probably like a lifelong skill. I think you might be seeing people who you feel are very established watercolorists, but they're still on their path of learning as well. Like, it is a perpetual challenge. I don't think you'll ever fully wrap your head around all the things that watercolor is or could be. It will be the gift that keeps on giving, really. Okay, I'm going to end it off there. Thanks for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one.